have you all at the third annual conference on realigning Indian agriculture for a sustainable future. We are also happy to inform the audience that today's conference is being hosted at the KIT University, and we have partners, the Advanced Training for Plant Breeding, which is an NGO operating from Aurangabad. They are our main organizers. And along with that, we have, in association, we are carrying out this conference with the Institute of Life Sciences, Bhubaneswar, Odisha University of Agricultural Technology, Bhubaneswar, and Ramadevi Women's University, Bhubaneswar. Once again, a very hearty welcome to all the dignitaries. I would like to now begin the inaugural ceremony with the lighting of the lamp. I invite and request all the dignitaries to kindly take their place on the dais. I invite all the dignitaries to kindly take their place on the dais and help in the lighting of the lamp. Students, can you please help with the lighting of the lamp? Students, can you please come forward with the, can you please come forward? We have the lighting of the lamp. Thank you, sirs and madams. I now request the student volunteers to please give a floral welcome to all the dignitaries on the dais. Student volunteers, please come forward for the floral welcome to all the dignitaries on the dais. Ladies and gentlemen, a big hand to all the dignitaries. Thank you, sir. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, students. We would like to now start the inaugural session. We have a number of very, very successful speakers today. And to start with, I would like to now invite the Director of the Advanced Training of Plant Breeding, ATBR, Dr. K.K. Narayanan, to give the welcome address. Among many achievements, I wouldn't want to miss this out. Dr. K.K. Narayanan is the Director and CEO of the leading agricultural genomics company, Agri Genome Labs Private Limited. Ladies and gentlemen, a big hand for Dr. K.K. Narayanan, please. Sir.
Thank you, and good afternoon to all of you. It's wonderful to be here, and I'm indeed glad to kick off this three-day conference. I think we are extremely fortunate to have the Director General of the Indian Council of Agricultural Research, the premier agriculture education and research organization of the country. He's also the Secretary of DARE. I extend a very, very hearty welcome to Dr. Trilochan Mahapatra. Please put your hands together along with me in welcoming Professor Mahapatra. We are doubly fortunate to have the Vice Chancellor of the Orissa University of Agriculture Sciences, my old friend, Dr. P.K. Agarwal. He is also a plant breeder. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Agarwal to this inaugural session. Rama Devi University has been our partner. We have worked together in putting this conference in this shape. So I am extremely pleased to welcome the Vice Chancellor, Professor Aparajita, to this conference. Please put your hands together in welcoming Professor Aparajita. You know, Dr. Bhatt, along with his co-worker, Manmohan Atawar, was a doyen in the vegetable seed industry in the country. Dr. Bhatt has been the silent force behind the organization that they built. We are extremely happy to have his son, Naren, who is representing IAB and also here to collect an award on behalf of his grandfather, Professor Bhatt. Okay, sure. So please put your hands once again in welcoming Mr. Naren to this function. Advanta has been a major sponsor along with INB for this conference. I am extremely happy to welcome Mr. Pandey to this meeting. Welcome, sir. Please put your hands together. You know, the host institution has gone beyond their remit in making sure that this conference takes shape. I am extremely thankful to the founder, Mr. Achyut Samanta, and also to the Vice Chancellor, Professor Samanta. And today she is not able to be here as part of this function. But I want to actually thank and welcome my good friend, Dr. Mrityunjay Sor, who is the Director of R&D and also CEO of the Technology Business Incubator, who is familiar to all of you, and all his colleagues who have put in a lot of effort, and would like to welcome them to this function. Please put your hands together for them. No, much of what you see here is their efforts. My colleagues in the organizing committee, Dr. Tikku, Dr. Aparna, Dr. Gopal, have been of great help in putting this meeting together. I extend a very hearty welcome to all of them. My welcome goes out to all the special invitees, guests, speakers, you students who are here in large numbers. I think you are the ones who will make this show a really thrilling and exciting one for all of us. I welcome you all to this function. and also to the 3 days conference which follows this. My welcome also goes out to members of the media and anybody else I might have left out, the exhibitors and other people. So having completed my official task of welcoming people, I seek your indulgence for a couple more minutes to share some thoughts on this meeting and why we put this together. See, the Foundation for Advanced Training in Plant Breeding, ATPBR, is an organization which we formed about 4 years ago. A few interested crop improvement specialists or people came together. The main purpose of it is essentially to develop human capital to promote the idea of crop improvement. And when I talk about crop improvement, I am talking it in a very broad sense, not just limiting it to genetic improvement, genetic enhancement, and plant breeding, but also all those attending activities which allow you to reap the potential or the promise of the genetic enhancement or genetic improvement that happens. You will notice that in the program, which will be elaborated to you by my colleague, Dr. Tikku, after I leave the dais, we have put together an eclectic mix of different topics. And they all have a role to play in meaningful crop improvement, not just genetic enhancement, that's the key, that's the foundation, but also in realizing the potential of that genetic enhancement. Finally, my dear friends, the last 2 years have been a really big pain for everybody because of the COVID pandemic. I don't have to explain that to most of you. I think many of you would have missed classes, online classes and stuff like that, and you would have felt the difference. Many sectors of our economy were severely affected. But one sector which held its own is the agricultural sector. I'm just trying to say this to underline the importance of agriculture in the Indian economy. People may dismiss it as one of the smaller sectors because it contributes only about 13% of the total GDP. There are many other sectors which are contributing much more. But take this fact, if you want to prop up the economy during difficult times, you need to rely on the land and the people who have a stake on the land. More importantly, more than 50% of all working people in this country are engaged in this sector. While we have come a long way, institutions like ICAR have played a stellar role in converting our country from a food basket to a food surplus state. There are still many instances of distress in the agricultural sector. The sector is now becoming a confluence of multiple technology domains. Now, earlier it's not just agronomy and genetics and stuff, you talk about artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, sensors, engineering, all have a role in realizing the potential or the promise of the improved crops. So my dear friends, we have designed this program in such a way that we cannot have a very comprehensive, all-inclusive discussion of all the areas, but we have chosen some key areas which actually gives you a flavor of the kind of things that we need to do. And that's where we have chosen the theme of this conference as realigning Indian agriculture for a sustainable future. No longer is the thrust on increasing productivity. It needs to be done in an environment-friendly manner. We need to talk about increasing farm incomes rather than just increasing farm productivity. We need to talk about how to make the agricultural worker more productive in terms of contribution to GDP. More than 55%, today contributing less than 13% is not the right scenario. It's an inverted scenario. We would like to invert this pyramid. So I don't want to elaborate much further, nor stand between you and some of the other speakers who have to come after me. So I once again extend a very, very warm welcome to all the people on the dais and all the people off the dais and all others who are also associated with this conference. And finally, I would leave you by saying this: All of you are very, very important participants of this conference, and I would urge each and every one of you to be fully engaged in the deliberations that follows the inaugural program, and that is what would make this program an enjoyable and a rewarding experience for each and every one of us. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. I would like to now invite the Independent Director of ATPPR, Dr. Suren Tiku. He has had a brilliant career of 40 years, which he's had experience as a public and private sector breeder and research leader. Immense capabilities. So I'll hand you over to Dr. Tiku. Sir, please.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's my privilege to address to you and give you something about what this conference is about. Dignitaries on the dais, thank you very much for making it. Dignitaries of the dais, ladies and gentlemen. I think this is our third conference. It got delayed by 1 year because of COVID. Last year, we couldn't do it. First one was in 2019 in Aurangabad. The second one we had in US, Darbar, and this is the third one. And we have had stable and regular partners in the private industry. And ICR has always been supporting us, thank you, and the various universities. So it's slowly getting to be developed into a platform where we can discuss things regarding agriculture and how to improve it. I think we are already at the end of the first green revolution, and it has already given us, as Dr. Narayan said, it is already, we are exporting food. So production in terms of totality is not low, but the question is that we still have some areas challenging agriculture, and I'll just name quickly a few. And one of them, although the yield total, there are farmers in every crop whose yield per acre is as good as US or any developed country. But our averages fall down to 50% of what China makes, 1/3 or 1/4 of USA and other developed countries. Why? Because although 50% of our human resources are into agriculture, but 80% of our farmers are small farmers. They are tilling about 1 acre land, 1.5 acre land. So their output is not as high as the best farmer. So our averages need to be, so we need to get more from the land so that we can meet the 150 crores we are going to be very quickly. And then soil deterioration. I think you must have heard of Professor Ratan Lal talking about that. The soil has been cultivated heavily, sometimes 400%, sometimes 300%. So we need to make it more efficient. Labor, we say labor is cheap in India, but labor is no longer that easily available for, like, let us say cotton. Cotton harvest, we used to do 5 rupees a kilo. Now it is 14 rupees a kilo to the labor. So we need farm automation for the small farmer, not the big farmers like outside. So nutritional quality is another one. Lot of varieties, hybrids with better nutrition are available. Yesterday only I was talking to Dr. Agarwal at the OUAT, and those materials are not reaching the farmer because they are not getting the right price. So we need to now take it forward. So the problem there is market linkages. I was talking to Dr. Swar yesterday. We need interventions where there is linkage between the farmers and the market. How do they market them? So in order to do this, we have tried to put these sessions, like we will initially start with Dr. Mahapatra is going to speak, Dr. Agarwal are going to speak. Then we will have Dr. Jackie Hughes, DG of ICRISAT, talking about what should be done to improve our technologies. Then we have a session on sustainable crop improvement, where stalwarts will talk about how do we improve sustainability. We have modern technology and biotech resistance session, where we will have speakers speaking on both the GMO and non-GMO technologies in the key crops. We have a sustainable farming agronomic intervention. As I said, the need is that how does the farmer who is getting only, say, in a crop, half of what China gets, how does he get better? So we need to have better knowledge transfer linkages, whether from the public sector or private sector. That has to be increased. So that discussion will be there. Then we'll have 3 panel discussions on seed delivery systems. How do we deliver the seeds better to the fine end? We will have a panel discussion on FPOs. This is and sustainable marketing. You know, the poor linkages to the market that the farmers have. There will be eminent speakers speaking on that, and also on better utilization of soil. We have knowledgeable global network farmers here. You will listen to them tomorrow. And then we have a skill development session where you will listen to actual case studies on where the skill development has been improved. And ATBBR is an association, a foundation, which is involved in giving that training, etc., to the younger people. And then we'll also have an entrepreneurial startup. So where that market linkage, etc., will be discussed about. And finally, we'll have a validatory session. In between, we have an ATPBR initiative, which is the award ceremony. Since last year in US Darbar, we started to acknowledge and award eminent breeders and other people who have been who have done human service to the agricultural field. So we started that in a small way, and this time it's getting better. And we hope that in the coming years, it will become a broader platform, recognizing scientists, business leaders from all functions of agriculture, not only just crop improvement, etc. So these are the things lined up we have for you. And I once again thank this couldn't be possible because of the organizing committee members and our sponsors. 2 of them are sitting here from Advanta and INB Seeds. I look forward to a productive sessions in the next 3 days. My only request is that we all try and speak within the time limit so that there is enough room for discussion after the lectures are over. Thank you very much and have a very good deliberations. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. For a newly found organization, ATPBR is definitely doing a remarkable, significant work in the area of agriculture, and this conference will showcase some of their activities. So we are looking forward to that. And I now invite our very dynamic and extremely accomplished Director General R&D KIT and CEO of KIT TBI, Dr. Mrityunjay Suwat.
So very good afternoon to all of you. Honorable Director General of ICAR, Sitilochan Mahapatra sir, and all the guests on the dais, the Vice Chancellors, everybody of the dais, all esteemed speakers, welcome to this platform. And this is KIT University, and all of you, I'm going to speak what KIT University and KIT TBI has been doing. And when I got a call from the organizers about agriculture, because every time we promote health, other sectors, microbiology, especially cancer biology, but never into agriculture sector. So what I realized, the future is agriculture. And gone are those days where people saying in agriculture, there's no business happening. I have been reading articles, people having well experience in US or other countries, living jobs, lucrative jobs, also in India, IT jobs, they're starting up agri sectors. And they've been showing the whole world to the country. Yes, if you build the right strategies, right platform, modern technologies, which can be scalable, you can really earn good amount of money. So ladies and gentlemen, I'm more talking about enterprising aspects of agriculture. So when I got a call from the agency or the foundation, and especially KK Narayanji and the team, I said, yes, KIT must host it. And then with the partnership of OUAT, Ramadevi University and the ILS, and I'm saying that KIT University is an institute of eminence, have been promoting a lot of these conferences, bring in intellectual crowd and see that a lot of things can happen in this part of the country. The Director General is from the same state, and many of you belong to the same state. But what is missing that coordination activities? I'm sure this conference is going to give you a lot of wisdom to think differently, not only to build new practices, but also to build sustainability aspects of agriculture. A lot of things are happening. Dr. K.K. Nayan is a part of several selection committees to promote startups in agri sector, but it has to go beyond startup sector, scale up sectors, growth sectors. So I think we are there for you as a part of KIT, which is to eminence, is promoting such kind of activities. And that's why it's a #1 ranked in the innovation sector called ARIA ranking #1. And we have a sister concern called KISS, which is also promoting 30,000 tribal children. And if you go there, your technology can be disseminated to them. See about a scale. 30,000 tribal children, they can pick up technology which can be disseminated to the community level, and that's how you can build up sustainable strategies. We have KTBI, where I belong to, called the Technology Business Incubator. Also, the BIREC is a sponsor of this program. There, we have been promoting more than 26 the startups in the agri sectors. Some of them really scaled up. Of course, many of them are struggling. I request the think tank of this group, from KK Narayan to all of you whom I met, Dr. Tikku and Cyril, we met yesterday, we've been discussing. Please see that these startups are not struggling because they don't know how to scale it up. So you have a lot of wisdom. Conference should not only have a 3 days program, follow-up program where you bring a white paper which talks about how can you build strategies to handhold these startups and scale it up, because you are all wise people in the sector. And KTBI has been promoting that, and I'll be requesting these foundations at TBPR to handle these startups to scale. And we have a new concept came up with the Prime Minister's Tech Committee called Science, Technology, Innovation Advisory Council, called City Cluster Concept. So it is now, we have built up a Bhubaneswar City Cluster. And why I'm saying, because we are bringing a lot of intellectual platforms, and I'm sure this is also intellectual platform. So City Cluster is going to take many of these companies to different level, field applications. I'll be requesting the Vice Chancellor of OUAT and also the Ramadevi University to be a part of the City Cluster concept and see that we are not doing research in isolations or in our areas, but we can reach out to other people who need our technology to be deployed. We have several such examples. I'll not take much of time, but I can tell you now Odisha is rising and shining, and such platforms will make us better. And coordination activities, partnership activities, cluster activities going to make us much better. And we want to showcase to the country that Odisha is not far, in that stage, it can do bigger things too in future. I request all of you that do not only listen, but listen carefully and build strategies. And to all the students or young minds here, please remember, it's not about cancer biology. The future is about agriculture, the technology. A lot can happen with this, and you can make it happen. With this, I thank the sponsors. I thank all the organizers, especially thank the Director General being here. I thank all the participants spending the next 3 days in the campus of KIT. So I'm requesting my colleagues, Dr. Gopal and Dr. Munmai, to make it a point. They should take you around the KIT campus, the KISS campus, to see 30,000 children. It's the world's largest tribal university. Look at humongous. And they're going to, Dr. Samantha is not here because he has other assignment. He's not in the town, or they love to come, because he said, Mrityunjay, tell the participants, well wishes from my side, but he's a person who is promoting a lot of these activities through KISS. And I'm sure many of your innovations can be disseminated to the community through KISS model. So watch out, go around the KISS University and the KIT University and TBI, you'll realize this is not a university, this is a big temple of innovations, academics, and research. Thank you, and enjoy your 3 days. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. We have amongst us the Honorable Vice Chancellor of Odisha University of Agricultural Technology, OUAT, Dr. P.K. Agarwal. He has been honored with the Sardar Iqbal Singh Gold Medal for his meritorious performance in Masters. He has also been awarded the Young Scientist Award by the Asra Society, Cuttack. We are privileged to have you, sir. Please address the audience, sir. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you very much. Honorable Director General ICR and Secretary DARE, Professor Trilochan Mahapatra sir, all the distinguished dignitaries on the dais. Professor Samanti is not here, but let me remember her. Nice to see Madam Aparajita Chaudhary Madam, to see after some time here. Dr. Mrutyunjay Swar, Dr. Suren Tiku, Dr. Narayanan, after a long time I met you here, maybe many years after that. Dr. Gopal Chaudhary, all the dignitaries on the dais, of the dais, participants, speakers. When I saw the title of this conference, it was a little bit inquisitive for me, concerned and also learning. With 5F, the word came, I was really thinking how the name might have come or how they prioritize 5 different commodities. And that to the topic was put as a broader perspective. Even if it is crop improvement, I'm sure it is in a broader perspective, the point was put. And when you saw food, feed, fiber, fuel, and fine chemicals, it talks a wider spectrum of usefulness of agriculture. Normally, often we discuss agriculture as a whole. We talk the different subject, different commodities, and talk general points. Probably this conference talks more specific things. And that is why when it comes to being fine chemical, which many people may not have a priority for their discussion, like dyes, or resins, oils, waxes, gums. Normally, whenever we discuss in any platform, they are normally byproduct most of the time. And we talk of rice, wheat, maize, and major crops. So whether it is a calorie for food, nutrition for food, or talks of fiber, it is a yield, or it is quality, or fuel. You can use agriculture product directly as a fuel, or maybe you can use agriculture product as a fuel which is secondary, maybe bioethanol, ethanol, like that. And when you talk that, again there is an issue, whether you're going for 1G ethanol or bioethanol, 2G, 3G, 4G. Then you talk about whether technically they're feasible or not, techno-economically they're feasible or not. There are a lot of perspective to see. I'm sure a brilliant participation of the people here, they must be discussing another 2-3 days about the different aspect in a more professional way. When I was thinking about this point while coming, I remembered one of the book I read during my college days. Dubik, written, he wrote a book, Plant Breeding. Many people must have read. There somebody asks, he says, if somebody asks me, what will be priority for breeding purpose? He says, if there is 5 points you ask me, first 4 will be yield, 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 and yield. That means it is such an important point for any breeder that yield is the most focus. All other things, though we talk, the quality, disease paste, everything, he says that is my last point. Having told that, and having seen a history of Indian agriculture from 1960s, today probably we have to think a little bit differently. Because when 60s, Indian agriculture was seen in terms of Green Revolution, that time 2 big names came. One team, Green Revolution led by Dr. Swaminathan, and White Revolution led by Dr. Kurian. One was production-oriented revolution, one was market and requirement-oriented revolution. And both were relevant, and both paid to this country enough. But we have a lot of things to learn from both the experiences. So when the country was struggling for calorie, we're not having enough food to feed, forget about nutrition and income, everything. We had no other way to think only for calorie. And that is why we went for production. We always talk yield, yield, and yield. And absolutely there is nothing wrong in that. But we cannot go on talking the same point in a time scale when things are different. By 1972 plus, we are having almost a food sufficiency. That means we cannot say ideally we are food sufficient if you calculate the per capita requirement or like that. But practically the country was sufficient, means whatever in the market was available, whatever people were buying and whatever is available was comfortable for the country. Then the issue for the country was how to stabilize the product and how to bring quality to that their production. Till then, the things were little bit in the same scale, what we were discussing. But after that, today when people have a good economy, we have enough production, and we have an occasion to make a choice. I remember my childhood, the rice used to sell in 3 rupees 73 paise, precisely I'm telling, when I was a class 7 student or something. I remember. And the rice will smell and nobody like to eat, still people buy and take and eat. Because there is no choice. But today you go to anybody, whether he is a downside of the society or very, very rich part of the society, people have a choice. They say today is a function, I like to eat this, I would like to eat that. A man who earns 300-400 rupees per day also make a choice. So when the production is enough, choice, there is enough occasion to make a choice, then our working has to be a little bit different. And that is today we have an occasion to rethink. Second thing, like a big revolution of scientific revolution, second part of the 20th century, brought lot of changes to science, how the biological science would do research. Similarly, last 10 or 20 years, relevant aspect of agriculture science, it may be AI, it may be ICT, it may be IoT, it may be robotics, it may be drone technology, sensor technology, lot of change has happened. So we have different economy, different technology possibility, and everything is going to make a change the way we do agriculture. So 1960s, we developed a variety which was input responsive, fertilizer and water, and we wanted more production. So we produce enough, and we are happy, we are proud that we made the country self-sufficient for calorie point of view. Last 20-30 years, we have done enough to at least bring that thing towards quality, nutrition, and we are talking, and a lot of achievements are there. We have to do more. But today context, we have to go a little beyond that. Today, the breeding program or crop improvement program has to see in a more wider aspect, from the technology which is available like precision agriculture or lot of technology like robotics or IoT or ICT, whatever. Putting. Second, lot of other technology like mechanization, the right kind of plant type that will make mechanization more comfortable. Yesterday we make a variety, we asked mechanization to come and support. Today we can think of that these kind of machines, these kind of things, this is genetics, this is the possibility of variability, we can develop a variety to suiting that. So thinking has to a little bit be different. Then today bigger concern for us, how to reduce the cost of inputs and make profit and make quality. So today the whole gamut of agriculture has to seem a little bit differently, that how we make a future agriculture, another 20 years for this country, where farmers' income, farmers' livelihood, nutrition, quality, and choice of the people in the mall. Yesterday we sold rice as rice. Future marketing has to be a well-leveled, different kind of rice, different kind of food grains, giving a choice to the people to buy and have a comfortable. Your plate will be diverse, your crop will be diverse, the marketing system will be different. And today we have been very well prepared for future, how we are geared up. Government has a lot of policies like FPOs, other marketing chains, private sector entrepreneurship, how to bring youth to entrepreneurship, the way Kit, our colleague, told. So lot of things has to be considered together. I won't talk about OUT too many things, because we get up with agriculture and sleep with agriculture and we think of agriculture. So it is not a platform. But today, the way incubation and entrepreneurship was discussed, we do support more than 123 FPOs in the state, skilling and technical. And we are also establishing 5 incubator under PMFME that is already being almost operational. First one we are going to do in fishery very soon. So we are also trying our best not to make any aspect of agriculture that goes to the final end to make it meaningful to the consumers or stakeholders in a better way. With this, I thank you, all the organizations and participants, and I'm very thankful to Honorable DG ICR and Secretary Dare. He spared time to be here, and I'm fortunate that we are in a platform to discuss, and we look forward for his guidance, because his experience and his knowledge, we do not stand anywhere. So getting his vision and his guidance will be very key, crucial for Indian agriculture. With this, thank you very much. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, sir. Soon after the International Women's Day celebration, I feel very proud to invite a very, very accomplished Honorable Vice Chancellor of Ramadevi Women's University, Professor Aparajita Chaudhary. Professor Chaudhary has been the recipient of prestigious Commonwealth Academic Staff Fellow at the University of London, Fulbright Fellow at the University of Wyoming, and she has also received the Young Investigators Award from the Johann Jacob Foundation, Zurich, Switzerland. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a big hand for Professor Chaudhary.
A very good afternoon to one and all present here for the 5F Farming Conference 2022. Esteemed dignitaries on the dais, off the dais, scholars, speakers, students, and the media friends. Indeed, a great and historic movement for all of us together. 3 universities, 1 institute, coming closer to each other for a very important topic, that is realigning the agriculture for a sustainable tomorrow. The buzzword nowadays is innovation, collaboration, sustainability. So I'm happy that finally the agriculture has come, which ought to have come much earlier. I will start my deliberation with a quote from Thomas Jefferson, who wrote to George Washington in the year 1787. Agriculture is our wisest pursuit because it will in the end contribute most to real wealth, good morals, and happiness. Indeed, all the agriculture plays a vital role in the economic development. The urgency to protect, sustain, and develop, it has been left in the hindsight. Sustainable agriculture has not yet significantly contributed to the farmer's income, crop yield, water use, or greenhouse gas emission. There has been a paradigm shift in the field of agricultural research to address various challenges and opportunity in the field. It is also important to attract youth and empower the women in agriculture, because more importantly, where women constitute more than 70% of agricultural labor force, focus on the gender outcomes of the SAPs are very, very negligible. Thus, friends, time has come for the scientific community, especially from the field of agriculture, to focus on capacity building among the farmers and agriculture workers, most importantly, the women laborer, to divert from the resource-intensive cultivation to a resource conservation-based farming practice. No doubt that agriculture is a fundamental source of national prosperity. Building knowledge, facilitating learning, and collaborative research on agricultural practice is the need of the hour, which this particular conference has bringing together the different universities so that the knowledge generation sharing can take place. We at the universities can contribute a lot in this regard. Ramadevi Women's University is the only women's university in the state of Orissa, which caters to the women of the lower strata of the society. And in this sense, I can say it may be a very young and the new university, but it always strives for the quality education and the research and innovations. They say that once in your life, you might need a doctor, a policeman, and a preacher, but every day, 3 times a day, you need a farmer. If you eat today, thank a farmer. With these few words, I thank the organizer for organizing this very important topic of today, which will be having a long-lasting, sustainable benefits for all of us. Thank you very much for giving this opportunity. Vande Utkala Janani. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am. And now we have a very, very pleasant task of felicitation. I request the student volunteers to please get ready. So I now request Dr. K.K. Narayanan to please felicitate our chief guest, Dr. Trilochan Mahapatra, Director General, Indian Council of Agricultural Research. Ladies and gentlemen, a big hand for all the felicitation, please. Thank you, sir. I now request Dr. Mrityunjay Swag, please felicitate Dr. P.K. Agarwal. Dr. P.K. Agarwal, Vice Chancellor of OUAT. Ladies and gentlemen, a big hand for the felicitation, please. Thank you, sir. And I now request Dr. Suren Tiku to please felicitate Ma'am Dr. Aparajita Chaudhary. Ladies and gentlemen, a big hand for the felicitation, please. Dr. Aparajita Chaudhary. Thank you, sir. And it is now my privilege to invite our chief guest, Director General of Indian Council of Agricultural Research, Dr. Trilochan Mahapatra. He's a brilliant scientist of global repute. The name itself is enough. We don't need too many introductions there. I think few of us are already aware of sir's contribution to the development of high-yielding basmati rice variety and many more. Sir, please address us.
Thank you very much. Very good afternoon to everybody. Dr. K.K. Narayanan, Director, ATPBR. Dr. Agarwal, Vice Chancellor, OUAT. Madam Dr. Aparajita Chaudhary, Vice Chancellor, Ramadevi. Dr. Suren Tiku, Dr. Swar, Madam Aparna, Mr. Naresh Bhatt, Mr. Pandey, others on the dais. Off the dais, there are several very, very qualified, learned personalities. Dr. T.K. Adya is here now, but he was earlier my predecessor at Sierra. No, I know. I say he is here now. And he was my predecessor at Sierra Rai Cuttack as director. Dr. Dasgupta spent a lifetime in industry on various aspects. His good words and expertise in GM and related aspects, well known. Dr. Kshirod K. Jena, internationally renowned rice scientist. Many industry representatives, I would not name because there's several of them, and also others who are present here from KIIT, the research scholars, students who are present, other delegates, ladies and gentlemen. From my own personal behalf, I extend each one of you a very warm welcome. Greetings to all of you. At the outset, let me thank profusely Dr. Narayanan for inviting me to be here this afternoon with all of you. Always it is an opportunity and also a privilege to be associated with a program of this kind, particularly when industry academia partnership in something of national as well as global relevance is being discussed. Dr. Narayanan, I know him for decades now. He's always a very involved researcher to start with, a strategist, a planner, a thinker, an industrialist, a very good friend, always smiling, nice to talk to, forthcoming to extend a helping hand. So when he sends a word that one has to be here, so very difficult to refuse despite all kind of engagements. The last meeting I could not, despite me wanting, but I could not do. But this time, not that it's not happening as it is said. So he has been organizing this along with other colleagues. But today it's a very good opportunity to be here. During my close to 4 years of stay at Cuttack, I used to come very frequently. And maybe once or so I delivered 1 or 2 lectures here. I don't remember now. One on genomics in the biotech school. And subsequently, once or twice I visited the campus on different occasions. A beautiful campus, always you would love to be here, where science, innovations, sustainability, all are being discussed as a matter of routine. So it's a good opportunity to be here, and I believe it would be a learning experience for all of you. The topic is very carefully chosen: realigning Indian agriculture for a sustainable future. This group has been talking about, and that's the core expertise, the plant breeding, that is crop improvement. Crop improvement through plant breeding, that's only one approach. There are other approaches now. And that aspect is very familiar to most people who would be present here, from the industry particularly, and maybe many from academia. And today, when we talk of sustainable future, we do have a kind of quantifiable indicators to measure sustainability. When you talk of sustainable agriculture, what all we should consider and where we should focus. Dr. Tiku has given an outline highlighting some aspects of agriculture which needs our greater indulgence, which needs our focused attention to bring in greater sustainability, to build in greater sustainability for future. Indian agriculture, starting from 1950-51, has traversed a very long, winding path, often stumbling because of many, many hurdles. But if you measure its success by any parameters that you choose, you find it as quite satisfactory. Why it is so? I don't have much time to actually elaborate on each one of them, but very briefly, I'll touch upon some of those points and leave all that for deliberation in these 3 days conference. We were begging and borrowing to feed the population, which was much less, around 30 crores or so, 30 to 35 crores. And today we are able to feed 1.3. Now the estimate says 1.4 billion plus population. Maybe we have surpassed China. One has to see. It was to 2030, 35, by which we're supposed to surpass China. We are moving much faster. But we are able to feed this population. There are concerns. I'll come to that point a little later. Our food grain production has increased more than 6 times. Despite COVID, we have progressed fairly well. Our growth rate is 2021, it was 3.6% agricultural growth. And 21-22, it's at this point in time, it is about 3.9%. No other sector in India performed this well as the agriculture sector. So 316 million tons of food grains is quite satisfying. And wheat export, partly due to war, is a beautiful example how it is expanding. Honorable Prime Minister has given the call that how we actually improve upon various other sectors to increase our export so that we become very quickly $5 trillion economy. Our not only food grain production, pulses production has increased 3 times. 3 times means 300%, mind you. Don't forget this. Oilseed production, 7 times, 6 to 7 times. Milk production, more than 11 times, 1100%. Egg production, more than 65 times. Sugarcane production, 6 to 7 times. Cotton production, 11 to 12 times. So all these indicators tell us that we have done fairly well. And our export is rising. In 2021, we exported to the tune of 41+ billion US dollar. And it was 19 billion US dollar more than what we imported. I'm talking of agricultural export. So we are a surplus nation. At times we have now problem of plenty. Not the deficiency, but the plenty of production is troubling us at times. And that is taking us to a different level of preparation for future. So when all these indicators are satisfying and tell us that we are doing fairly well, we are exporting and we are meeting all our needs, except one sector, that is edible oil, which we are importing. Last year, it was 1 lakh crore spent on import of edible oil. About 15 million tons of edible oil we are importing, and we are able to produce only about 10 million tons. The 60% of our import is palm oil from Indonesia, Malaysia. Their climate favors production of palm oil, and palm oil gives maximum return per hectare, close to 5 tons of oil per hectare. No other oilseed crop or plant gives that much of oil yield. So obviously, quite beneficial to the producer, to the traders, to everybody. So we are importing, though it's not so healthy as the mustard oil, olive oil, so several other oils, but still we procure, we use for industry, we use for consumption, human consumption, and so on and so forth. And this has happened because of increased consumption, not just population increase. The purchasing power also has increased. And very importantly, our purchasing power also increased. The poverty declined very significantly. The rate of poverty decline was little more than 2%, as estimated by Niti Aayog. The rate at which the poverty was declining, it was thought by 2030, India would have no poverty. By 2030, India would have no poverty. It will be zero poverty. But there is a setback because of COVID. Mind you, we are largely agrarian economy still. Though agriculture contributes 20% to our GDP, 70 to 20%, but more than 50% of our population depend directly or indirectly on agriculture. So agriculture still remains the mainstay of engaging people. Engaging people, you and me may not go back to villages and do agriculture, but 50%, more than 50% of our population still stay there and continue doing agriculture. So in other words, it's their livelihood security. So livelihood security provided by agriculture. And another estimate that maximum poverty alleviation occurs only when there is increase in agricultural production and productivity, via productivity increase, of course. So agriculture contributes to poverty alleviation of all the interventions that we do. The road, the other networks, whatever you say, developments. Agriculture contributes maximum to poverty alleviation. So rural poverty, which needs to be actually reduced, so that demands agriculture to stay in focus, to continue delivering at the grassroots level. So what is that is actually required? It's not just crop-based agriculture, field crop-based agriculture. It is horticulture, it is animal husbandry, it is fishery, all spheres of agriculture and allied sector activities. They need our attention. When we say sustainable development, the sustainable development goals, there are 17 of them. And critical analysis has shown that 11 to 12 of them, they directly, indirectly concern agriculture. So when globally one is talking about sustainable development, one talks about agriculture. The first one, which talks about no poverty. As I said, that poverty alleviation occurs largely because it's a rural poverty. So rural poverty, rural engagement means agricultural engagement. And if you want to eliminate rural poverty, you have to do something in agriculture. No poverty means it has to be agriculture. Largely, or agriculture-based industry, agriculture-related activities. When I say agriculture, I mean it could be animal husbandry, it could be dairy, it could be fishery and all that, agroforestry. The second is zero hunger. You keep counting them, one by one you find how agriculture is so relevant. Third one is good health. Without good food, you don't talk about good health. Medicines cannot give you good health. If you fall ill, so obviously you have to take medicines, but primarily it's food for nutrition. It's a food for nutrition and elimination of hunger. Unless you address poverty, you can't address hunger adequately. And unless you address hunger, you can't address malnutrition. So it's all linked. And first three of the sustainable development goals are directly related to agriculture. And you can go on. So even if you go to number 13, the climate action, even sustainable cities, not many people associate agriculture with the sustainable cities. The kind of consumption that happens in cities demands attention about the peri-urban agriculture and city agriculture, the urban agriculture, the transport, long distance transport that happens to feed the city population impacts the climate because of the emissions. If you can produce there in cities, we can reduce greenhouse gas emissions by way of reducing transport. It's an enormous transport that happens, we don't realize. So again, indirectly, agriculture matters there. Reduce inequities in society. The poverty, inequity, they all can be addressed partly through agriculture. So obviously, I'll not go into that. So the sustainable development at the global level, which is being talked about, and you know the 2030 agenda, that is sustainable development goals and the agenda thereof, we have to really meet. It's a big challenge, more challenging because of COVID-19. How do we really move from here? Mention was made that if we talk of sustainable Indian agriculture, its sustainable future, what are the pathways? What are the areas? Obviously, water, the number one. Why? More than 5,000 cubic meter of water was available, per capita water was available in 1950-51. It is less than 1500 cubic meter now. And it would continue reducing, it continues getting reduced. And if it goes below 1100 or 1000 cubic meter, and imagine there will be wars. Not between countries, even between states. And you see some of these fights between states, whether Karnataka and Tamil Nadu, even Odisha and other states. So within a state, because if there is no drinking water, the civilizations perished in the past because of water. Civilizations came up on the banks of rivers. Rivers perished, changed their course. Civilizations perished. Sustainable agriculture, first of all, requires less of water footprint. How do you really do this? It's a big challenge. And obviously, fortunately, technology is coming to our rescue. And I'm sure there is plenty of opportunity for youngsters to innovate in this area. The micro irrigation system, which saves 50 to 60% water as compared to the flood irrigation, it has gone up to 12 million hectares in the country. We have 142 million hectares net sown area. A long way to go. Of course, some of the areas would not require this micro irrigation system. Water is so plenty, you do not know how to manage the water. But it's a long way to go, and we have to innovate further. Close to 50% area in this country is still rain-fed. The productivity of rain-fed systems is so low. The sustainability of the rain-fed production system is a big challenge. What kinds of crops to be grown there? We are preparing crop plans. 12 of them are ready. Which state and which region should grow which crop, depending on agroclimate, the water availability, the soil system, the soil carbon. Soil carbon is so important from the viewpoint of sustainable agriculture. The areas, some of the areas which gave us green revolution, there the soil carbon has declined and it has gone down below 0.5%. In Rajasthan, the arid regions, it is 0.2%, 0.3%. Unsustainable situation. The groundwater that we are withdrawing is unsustainable in certain parts of the country. We have good crops, but unsustainable. Can't continue doing this. So these are the kind of areas that one has to work. But integrating those newer concepts, which is based on, say, artificial intelligence, the decision support system based on huge data system to reduce water use, apply water whenever it is required, and the quantity that is required, and applying only that much of quantity. So all these decision support systems require huge amount of data. Building data and basing decision support based on that huge data, using all the kind of modern tools, digital systems, the sensors, the wireless sensors, communicating with your even mobile, all these things are happening. And yesterday was the agriculture fair at the Indian Agriculture Research Institute, where the seeds of green revolution was sown. And there we were actually showing to the farmers how drones can be utilized, how wireless sensors can be utilized, how it can be linked to the mobiles of the farmers. Sitting at home, how they can operate their pumps, and then irrigate their land, their crops, and provide as much water as required through the piped system, pressurized irrigation system. Saving water is number one priority, and that would provide a sustainability. Honorable Prime Minister has given the call for chemical-free agriculture. The chemical footprint is increasing. The fertilizer use is not really huge as compared to the other countries like US and China, where it is more than 200 kilogram. Ours is about less than 150 kilogram, I would say, around 145 kilogram per hectare in a year. We are less, but certain regions of the country are using even more than 400 kg of fertilizer per hectare. And some districts use routinely more than 200 kg. 290 districts of the country use 85% of our chemical fertilizer, particularly urea. That is unsustainable. And rest of the districts, consume only for 15% of the, fertilizer, urea. Unbalanced use of fertilizers is unsustainable. Northwest Plain Zone, which gave us Green Revolution, has unbalanced use of fertilizers. So we need to really reduce the chemical footprint in agriculture so that there is less of negative impacts on our environment. The water pollution is reduced. The soil properties are improved. Fertility remains sustainably for a longer period of time. The soils remain productive. That is sustainable agriculture. For tomorrow, we have to really work on more intensively on this particular aspect. We have defined about 65 organic practices for various crops and cropping systems. Not all crops are amenable at this point in time. When you go for organic, certainly you need to think about the supply of the nutrients in adequate quantity. A recent report says that Azotobacter, the free-living nitrogen fixer, the microbe, can have accelerated release of ammonia, and that can very significantly reduce your fertilizer nitrogen use. Our own experiment also has indicated the same thing. So the power of microbes and microbial consortia and their use, increased use in agriculture, not only from the viewpoint of reducing chemical fertilizer use, but also promoting growth of crops. So plant growth promoting microorganisms, rhizobacterium, for instance. I believe there is plenty of opportunity for all of us to work in this area and build entrepreneurship through innovations. I believe industry would be also working in this area more and more so that sustainable agricultural systems are built and supported and strengthened in future. Similarly, what we are talking about is no-till agriculture or minimum till agriculture or conservation agriculture. How do we actually promote conservation agriculture? Conservation agriculture practices have crop residue mulches, which reduces weed growth, and also it suppresses weeds. It enhances carbon content in the soil, which is reducing. So irrigation water use is reduced. There are multiple advantages of this. Direct seeded rice with minimum tillage or no tillage. So I believe there is plenty of opportunity for all of us to work. It's not just agricultural field, even horticulture, animal husbandry, and fishery requires very specific action. The greenhouse gas emissions from animals the kind of microbes they harbor, the methanogens particularly. Dr. Adya has plenty of work in this area, in rice field. Obviously, reducing methane emission is our target. And that is how we can make agriculture sustainable. The sustainable future demands that the methane emission from animals should be reduced to bare minimum. So we have developed some feed mix that can inhibit the methanogens, and that's now being marketed as a Harit Dhara. At least 15 to 20% of methane emission from animals can be reduced if you go for this mix of plant-based products with the feed system. So there are various activities that we are working on, but there are plenty of challenges. I believe that energy use in agriculture is another area. At the moment, we are using about 2.2 kilowatt per hectare in this country. Long way to go. Automation is to come. The sensor-based practices are to be routine. And these are all areas of innovation, and youngsters can jump in. Mention was made. The IITians are coming back to agriculture, leaving good jobs in multinational companies. The vertical farming, particularly in cities, I was talking about the challenges of city and city food system needs. How do we make that sustainable? The vertical farming, where space requirement is so minimum and sustainability is quite high. Even there could be organic production systems in vertical farming. Energy efficiency in those systems, the nutrient management in those systems, they're all challenges, but there are plenty of opportunities for youngsters to work on. The solar-based systems. In fact, the e-vehicle platforms which are being promoted requires lithium batteries. Lithium-based batteries are required. We have to depend upon lithium from some other country, like our fossil fuels. We have to innovate. How do we use renewable sources of energy in agriculture for greater sustainability? Reducing use of diesel in agricultural operations for sustainable agricultural future. There is malnutrition in this country. Mention was made that we have developed varieties. During past 6 years, we have developed 86 biofortified crop varieties. And these varieties are now going to the field. More than 4.5 million hectares are sown to these biofortified crop varieties. Honorable Prime Minister himself dedicated to the nation 17 varieties and then 35 varieties with special traits, including biofortified traits. And that shows the importance of this particular area. We have to address malnutrition. At the same time, we have to also address the farmer's income. When you talk of sustainable development, we can't leave the interest of the farmers altogether, leave them there where they are. Sustainable development requires equity. Sustainable development requires health and well-being. So there comes the role of nutritionally dense crops. And earlier, as Dr. P.K. Agrawal said, yield, yield, and yield. D.N. Dweck's famous statements. Yield was important to feed the billions. We are already there. We have to bother for nutrition along with yield. So higher yield with better nutrients, that is what our focus is. we are benchmarking in all crops. A particular level of nutrition has to be reached. So it's already time. So these varieties have to grow, go to the field more. So I believe there is plenty of opportunity for all of us to work in this area. The private partners, the youngsters who want to innovate in this area, to build entrepreneurship in this area so that the malnutrition is addressed, the farmers' income is increased sustainably. And that is how we can retain a huge population in villages and make farming beneficial, and so that they remain interested. The youth come back to agriculture. The youth comes back to agriculture. Otherwise, who would feed this growing population? Climate is changing. By 2100, there could be temperature increase by 2.4 degrees centigrade. If you want sustainable agriculture, we have to address this. We need agroforestry system. It is to be promoted. There is plenty of opportunity for entrepreneurship in agroforestry system. The soil carbon sequestration can be actually increased by agroforestry system. The microbial diversity can be increased, which is a very important component of our ecosystem, soil ecosystem. The soil ecosystem, if that is strengthened, the soils can remain productive sustainably for a long period of time. So all these are so relevant, so exciting. This is an exciting phase in the civilizational development. And I'm sure if you are excited, and if you are insightful, and if you have that deep insight into what is happening, I believe you would be having a thriving and successful business in the arena of sustainable agriculture. So I thank the organizers for giving me this opportunity. Many things are there to be spoken about, but time is over and your next session has to start. So Dr. Narayanan Saab, thank you very much for inviting me to be here today. And it's always a pleasure to see youngsters to remain with patience and have the ears and eyes open to see the world and grab the world, grab the opportunities to grow, to become, to be successful. So wish you all the very best. Wish the program all the very best. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. We not only hope, but we are sure that with your guidance, this conference is going to be a great success, and we might also be establishing some important milestones. And now for proposing of the vote of thanks, I request my colleague, Dr. Gopal Chaudhary, to do the honors.
Thank you, Dr. De. Good afternoon, honorable guests on the dais and off the dais, faculty members, students. Good afternoon and welcome to KIT. So on this beautiful afternoon, we have gathered here to discuss agriculture, and in the current scenario of global climate change, where the world needs to feed about 7.9 billion people, there seems nothing more important than sustainable agriculture. And hence the conference theme, the Realigning Indian Agriculture for a Sustainable Future. As rightly pointed out by Dr. Nair and Dr. Tikku, that is a very, very important topic, agriculture, that needs to be discussed upon and pondered upon. Thank you, sirs. On this regard, I must thank the ATPPR committee for coming up with this apt and suitable topic of the conference theme. Thank you, ATPPR committee. I must thank Dr. Tilochan Mahapatra, DG ICAR, for gracing the occasion in spite of his busy schedule and especially taking us through the milestones of Indian agriculture. Thank you, sir. I thank all the speakers, industry participants, event organizers for joining us here at this Temple City, Bhubaneswar. I also thank event partner Samadevi Women's University, Odisha University of Agriculture Technology, and Institute of Life Science, Bhubaneswar. Thank you, madam, and thank you, sir. I must thank the event sponsors for generously donating the much needed fund. Avanta INB Seeds, thank you, sirs. Ankur Seeds, Bayer Corporations, Mahaiko, DVT Barak, and NABARD. It was Dr. Mrityunjay Swar who initiated this ATPBR and KIIT collaborations and thought of this conference to have a kit. Thank you, sir, for having this opportunity. I'm sure the students and the young minds will largely benefit from this. Ladies and gentlemen, there is no denying that in a short span of time, KIIT has carved a niche for itself in terms of academic and research excellence and infrastructure. And for that, we have to thank our leaders, Professor Achyuta Samanta, founder KIIT and KISS, and our Vice Chancellor, Professor Shashmita Samanta. Thank you, sir, and thank you, madam. At last, I must thank Dean School of Biotechnology, Dr. Srinivas Patnaik, the faculty fraternity, the supporting staff, and the students of the School of Biotechnology for working so hard to make this conference a grand success. So let's hope we'll have a nice, vibrant conference for next 2 days. Thank you all, and let the conference begin. Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you. Yeah. Yes, yes. So thank you all. We now invite you all for a high tea, and we will be starting the first technical session after 15 minutes of break. Thank you, dignitaries on the dais, off the dais. Please do join us for a coffee.